Hi, you're watching Weekly World Climate Change News. For the first time in 40 years, a starving polar bear was seen in the northern Siberian town of Norilsk, hundreds of kilometers south from its natural habitat in the Arctic. While it is not clear what brought this particular bear south, polar bears have increasingly been forced inland to find food as climate change damages sea ice habitats. An expedition from the University of Alaska Fairbanks has discovered that the Arctic permafrost in Canada is thawing 70 years earlier than expected. In a worrying sign that climate change is occurring faster than predicted, a series of warm summers have melted millennia-old subterranean ice, marking the warmest period of 5,000 years. UK will host next year's UN climate talks after coming to an agreement with the alternative option host Italy. Under a common proposal, UK will host COP26, while Italy will host both pre-COP and a youth event. There were no serious challenges to the UK-Italy bid. Business leaders and 162 members of parliament expressed their support for UK's candidacy. UK's win of the COP's presidency will send a positive message that UK remains open to host summits of global importance. The UK-Italy bid sends a strong signal of informed and determined cooperation on climate change. United States satellites are assessing researchers track the melting of Himalayan glaciers by providing data which reveals changes across the sea consistent with global warming. The glaciers melted 2 times faster between 2000 and 2016. According to the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, Himalayan glaciers will lose over a third of their mass by the end of the century, and if global warming continues at the current rate, 2/3 could be lost. The results include countries surrounded by the Himalayan glaciers being impacted by floods, landslides, and loss of water supply. Kariba Dam is now at less than a third of its capacity. It is the world's biggest man-made reservoir and the main source of power for Zambia and Zimbabwe. The dam is now on 29% capacity compared to the 88% capacity it had a year ago. There is a high chance that electricity production will be suspended if the current trend continues. This is a result of a regional drought. Zambia and Zimbabwe both introduced rolling blackouts because of power supply constraints. During the meeting of the delegates of 20 countries ahead of the G20 summit later this month in Japan, the framework of reducing the use of plastic was agreed on. The G20, who woke up 85% of global GDP, have signed a new legislation where they agreed to take the initiative to reduce plastic waste and share information and promote scientific monitoring and methods, since plastic litter and its impact has gained prominence in the latest years. The results from a study by the Data Science Institute at Columbia were released after studying the effects of climate change on 5 major grain crops growing in India during the monsoon season. They found rice to be very vulnerable to extreme weather conditions, and finger millet, maize, pearl millet, and sorghum to be much more drought and extreme temperature tolerant. Based on their study, the scientists recommend diversification of India's grain production and greater usage of the 4 more resilient grains studied. Ocean-dwelling flesh-eating bacteria are spreading north into the new territories along the Atlantic coast of the US, with 5 cases occurring between 2017 and 2018 in Delaware Bay, where it had previously been rare. Although flesh-eating bacteria, known as Vibrio vulnificus, prefer to live in warmer waters, such as in the Gulf of Mexico, climate change has warmed the ocean further north sufficiently for them to survive there. Glowing plankton, known as blue tears, is increasing in numbers in the East China Sea, posing a potential threat to sea life. The plankton is harmless to humans but generates ammonia, which decreases oxygen in the water. Their increasing numbers can be put down to increasing temperature and use of fertilizer, which increases the number of nutrients in the water. The United States government has taken a step backwards regarding the closing of coal power plants. The previous government had made multiple efforts to stop these power plants from operating and damaging the environment, but now that has been put on hold and they are once again insisting on electricity generation from carbon power plants. This is a huge setback that continues to directly contribute to global warming. You were watching Weekly World Climate Change News. My name is Katarina Velkov, and we hope you will join us next week.